What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have a special guest. He is an Emmy award-winning fighter. He is a UFC champ, entrepreneur, CEO, speaker. This guy does it all. Please help me welcome the one and only Eddie Gordon. What's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me, man. You and Josh definitely do great things, and I'm super excited about this.
So are we, man.
Yeah, definitely.
You've accomplished quite a bit in your life. I'm pretty excited to get to learn a little bit about your process and learn a little bit about, how you got to where you are.
Oh, it's just crazy. It's exciting. It seems normal until you kind of start talking about it.
Isn't that for everybody coming up? It's just like, really? Like, okay.
It's got to creep up on you, right? Like time flies and you're super busy. Obviously it's got to be pretty overwhelming at times. And I'm sure you're pretty grateful for all the opportunities that you've had and, all the success that's followed as well.
Oh man, you hit on the head. You said the powerful word, man. Grateful. A lot of times, like we don't really realize how blessed that we are, and sometimes you need somebody else to tell you before you kind of take a deep look into it. And I am truly humbled and blessed, and just want to kind of pay it forward.
That's awesome, man. No, and 100%. So I definitely would love to just dive right into it. And, first of all, so I would love to ask you, what was your biggest first venture you dove into? Like, what was that biggest thing that was just like the change in your life, that catapult to lead you to where you are today?
Oh man, that's a good question. Great question. Besides like marriage, that wasn't like a business venture unless you kind of go into business with the government. But
That's a fact.
I would say one that most people don't even know about. I started a social media platform called Singing Place probably 10 plus years ago.
Wow.
With a business partner of mine and co-worker. And it started out kind of hot. It was very, very promising, and it just fizzled out and lost a lot of money, lost a lot of time. And that probably taught me a lot about life. That was, before I even started fighting. That was before a lot of the success I had in my current life. And people don't realize that they always see the current success and think that your overnight success or it happened easy, happened fast. And I blame social media on that.
Yeah, it's interesting times we live in, right? Everyone kind of sees this curated version of everyone else's lives. And I'm glad that you brought up that failure, right? Because as an athlete, and many of us who were athletes either in our younger years or, in college or even in the professional level like you were at, failure is just commonplace, right? Like you have to accept that there's failure in athletics. But when it comes to business, it's so difficult for people to want to embrace that struggle, right? And really own up to their failures. So, what was it about that, that business venture that didn't go so well with the social media platform? Like, what were some of those lessons that you really learned that, you take with you even to this day?
Oh man, resilience is definitely one that resonates, the most with me. But more importantly, consistency. And I think that kind of goes with every and anything, right? You could go out there and do well day one, day two, day three, something might come up and then not do as well. But you got to consistently put in those behaviors that's going to lead to success. And you can't I'm a big believer in not judging every single day or looking for a grade every single day. Just consistently put in those behaviors that's going to lead ultimately to success. And that goes for business, that goes for relationships, that goes for everything that's worth something, because anything that comes easy and fast is going to leave you the same exact way. And, those consistent, hard processes that cultivate over months, weeks, years are the ones that always make the most sense and always leave the longest lasting impressions. So for me, every single failure I had in that first business venture, I always looked back at it and always said, consistency was the thing. Days I didn't want to get up, days I didn't want to advertise, days I didn't want to promote, days I didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that, days that I found excuses because those days, you can have a great day and you just find a reason why you can't do something. But consistency always resonates back to why I didn't have success with that and why I had a little bit of success. So it's always a two-edged sword.
I really love that you said consistency over and over again, because it's a word that a lot of people hear, but a lot of people don't want to accept.
So hard to accomplish. Right?
Oh yeah, and most people are like, okay, what's the magic pill? And it's just like, guys, it's consistency.
Yeah,
If you're
there's got to be
consistent-
another way. There's got to be
No, no,
another
no.
way.
You,
No,
yeah, yeah,
there's
there
got to
has to
be.
be.
There's got to be
No, that's
another.
bullshit. No, and it's like, guys, it's consistency. If you do this a certain amount of time with this many repetitions in, and you learn from it, and you stay consistent, you will grow, you will accomplish. So my question for you is, when did you really start learning consistency? Or was this something you always had being young, being consistent? Or was it something you adopted through the process?
I have to go back to like my heroes. Most people have heroes who are public figures or athletes or whatever it may be, but my heroes like my parents. They were
Love that.
tangible, and I didn't understand it until I kind of got to college, graduated college, and I kind of truly get it now that I have my own kids. My dad was always consistent as hell, and it wasn't always consistent the way I wanted it to be. He was always a worker, a worker, a worker. He was an entrepreneur. He was, you know, uh, always working, and I never understood why he gets up and do it day in and day out. And it was to provide for us. But as a kid, you kind of don't see it that way, right? You kind of say, "Why is Dad not at my games? Why is Dad always working? Why is this?" And you don't get it until you get it. There's nothing like experience. There's nothing like life experience that's gonna make you kind of cement that values in your brain. And I had it sounds crazy, but I kind of had a little not animosity, but I kind of felt some kind of way because I felt like my dad didn't support my dreams and my goals at a young age. Because I was really good athletically in high school. He didn't make it to all the games. He didn't make it to all of the things I thought was important, but he was consistently building something for our family, consistently building so my mother could come to it, so my brothers and sisters could come to it. And then like towards college, where it was actually harder for him to be consistently at my games, he made the effort and he was there. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. When I was in high school playing locally, football that is, he never made the games. But when I went to college, he traveled all around the country. But it clicked when he was like, I had to consistently work because you guys were young. You guys, I had to not only me and your mom, I had to consistently provide for you, your brother, your sister, and it's a lot harder. Being the youngest, once once I was graduated, like he didn't have times three responsibility, so he was able to do that, and that sat with me as an adult. And I'm not gonna sit here and act as if I stayed consistent my whole entire life because, like anything else, when you get a little bit of success, you stop doing the things that got you to that pinnacle. And it took a bunch of falling, it took a bunch of failing to have it sink in and say, all right, I have to do this not only while I'm growing, while I'm grinding, but I have to do it to stay at top because it's hard to get to the top. It's even harder to stay there.
That's
And you
right.
see it a lot of times with sports, with athletics. So you have to really, really, stick with that consistency. And, especially any young kids watching and listening now, I pray that you find something that you're passionate about that aids in being consistent. Because if you're doing something you love, right, it's a lot easier to be consistent. It's the things that we hate that's a key part of the ingredients that we're not consistent with. So, all the listeners, doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, consistency is going to get you. That's the shortcut. That's the shortcut to
Yeah.
success.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think between that story about, your father and how hard he was working and the overall message of consistency is this underlying value that a lot of people nowadays have forgotten about, right? And that's delayed gratification. Like, and you mentioned social media too, and I think social media has played a huge role in this, right? Is that people have forgotten that consistency and hard work only leads to success if you have delayed gratification, right? If you can hold off on, wanting what you think you need in that current moment, right? For some greener pasture on the other side.
That is so true, man. I truly believe that we're living in a society of a microwave mindset. Because I'm big on
I like
mindset,
that.
whether it's sports or anything else, but we want everything now. And when you win, and the biggest thing is that social media is such a powerful tool if it's used properly, right? That's
That's
like
right.
any superpower. With special powers comes special responsibility. But some of the most hardest working people in this world, we find a way to make it seem like what they're doing is easy. An example, people might not like the guy personally, but you look at a Floyd Mayweather. He came out with the slogan, easy work, easy money. No such thing, right? There's no
Yeah, yeah.
work. And he's one of the dudes that probably trains the most, trains the hardest out of anybody. Doesn't drink, doesn't party. Guy gets up all sorts of hours in the day, the night, goes and works out. But he has so much success, and he tells people it's easy, and people just go and just go with that. But it's the furthest thing from the truth. If you
Well, it's
ask him,
easy because he works hard, right? It's easy because he puts in the work
Yeah.
day in and day out. So when
Becomes
it's actually time to
repetition.
perform, it's second nature to him.
Yeah.
Then it is easy,
It's reaction.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, and it's crazy because it's easy to him, and I tell people all the time, the gifts that we have, it comes easy to us. So a lot of times we don't even realize that's our gift, that's our specialty, and it might come harder to somebody else, and we kind of like look past it instead of just nourishing it and letting it grow. And social media, back to that whole thing, you always see people. Nobody posts their vulnerability. Like, I'm big on that. I'm big on letting people know my faults, letting people know that I'm perfectly imperfect. Because if some kid looks at me and says, "Oh, this guy has it all," like, dude, that's the furthest thing, from the truth. Like, I've failed so many times. I've fallen. I had my faults. I still have my faults. I'm always learning, and I'll post that stuff. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'll post it because if I can help one person realize that you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to do everything right all the time, but you have to believe in yourself, and they can reach something, and that's a win for me.
So, what would you say is the best way for all the leaders out there to really set the example on social media, especially now that you see, like you were saying, you're seeing a lot of the young kids being influenced the wrong way or comparing constantly, and it's one of these things where it's really hindering on the mindset of a lot of individuals in a negative ways. And don't get us wrong, there's a lot of positive out of social media too, but for all the negative that's going on, what's a way that these leaders can step up and really shine some light and show these young kids that hey, don't get caught up with all the shit that you see all the time, and don't believe all the shit you see all the time.
You said it best, man. Like, these leaders, I like to use the word that they like to go by, right? Influencers. Everybody's an influence. What does that
I
word mean?
trigger all my friends with that.
Yep.
Yeah. Anytime I'm with them, I'm like, don't worry, guys. I got the check. I'm a social media influencer. They're like,
Yeah,
what? Yeah.
it's wild because when you think about just the word itself, like influence, it's usually you're under the influence of something, and it could be a bad thing, but
Yep.
a lot of these influencers are just not authentic. And I know firsthand because people go crazy over this friggin' blue check mark, and it's the most insane thing in the planet. Like, I've had conversations with some of these in quote unquote against influencers, and they're not who they say they are, and they're giving people and kids and this perception of how to get success, and it's the furthest thing from the truth because a lot of them are not even successful. A lot of them are not happy. I have friends that have blue check marks that are broke. I have guys that have 100 followers that are multimillionaires, and
Hmm.
the level of success you would never associate it because they don't have a blue check mark. But when it all comes to reality, it's about what's within. And if any influences, any leaders want to do something, is be authentic. Like, whatever it is be authentic and show people, show kids that you can be yourself. Yourself is cool enough. Because I don't know about you guys, I think I would suck at being somebody else. So the only way that I'm gonna truly be successful is like by being who I am and staying true to myself and stop worrying about the next famous thing, the next fad, the next fix. Because just like anything else is gonna go in and out of style. But if you're yourself, if you're authentic, you don't have to worry about flipping the switch. You can just be you.
Powerful.
Yeah. I mean, and I've mentioned this on the podcast, this story on the podcast before is, when we were getting ready to start this, I was telling some of my friends, are like, oh, well, you're going to start a podcast. Like, well, what if you say the wrong thing? Like, what if people, get the wrong impression of you? I'm like, I don't give a flying fuck what people think of me. Like, I have my viewpoints. Most of the time I'd say that they're pretty grounded in facts and common sense. And I'm going to put them out there. And if people like that, then cool. If they don't like that, then they don't have to listen to me.
Yeah, I'm not your resource.
You know what I mean? Like, there's
That's
plenty of other alternatives for you to go to if you feel like I'm spouting some bullshit in here. But,
yeah.
it's the reality that I live in and in the environment that I grew up in and that I'm a part of now that, you know, make me who I am, as you were saying, right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's the beauty of the country that we live in, right? That should be the beauty of it. That we should all be able to have our own opinions. We should all be able to have a way that we feel and believe. And whether we agree with it or not, we should be able to respect each other. We're in probably some of the craziest times
Oh
in
man.
this world right now. And to me, it's the saddest part about this whole thing. I'm talking about the taboo topic of politics, right? So I have friends that get mad at me because I don't believe in politics. They're like, you have to believe in a party. You have to believe in that. I'm like, no, I don't have to believe in a party. I don't have to believe in politics. I believe in people. Like, I don't care what your beliefs are. I believe in you. If you're a good human being, we could have different opinions, different views, and I can still respect you. That's what makes this world so great. And you look at social media, and it's truly, truly dividing us as
It
people
is.
because we're so infatuated with all the BS, the clutter, instead of worrying about being good humans.
Yep. Too many distractions, I always say. It's, and also too, and then what happens is, you know, the more you look for something down on Google, you know, on social media, you know, even Amazon, when you're purchasing stuff, it's gonna give you more of that. It's gonna give you more of what you want to see and what you're looking for. So you're only corrupting your own mind even more. And like you're saying, you're furthering distancing yourself from actually seeing people for who they really are. And just, man, guys, sit together, have a conversation, agree to disagree. Like, it's okay. You know, at the end of the day, we're all people, and, you know, we should have our own opinions, views, but get along at the same time. There's no reason for hate.
That's the power of sports, right? Look at sports. Look at the locker room. Like, sports is so powerful. You know, I hate when I hear parents say it's just a sport. It's just this. It's just that. Yo, when you look at sports locker rooms, you're bringing people from all walks of life into one room, one environment. You're getting them to get one mindset, one goal, and more importantly, work together to attain that goal. And who usually wins? The team that has the best chemistry. It's not always a team with the best players. It's not the team with the highest salary and payroll and all that crap. It's a team that buys in, got the same mindset, work together well, and they win. And if you look at it 9 out of 10 times, it's people from all different walks of life coming together
So
for a
true.
one common goal. If we could do that crap in sports, why the hell can't we do it in the world?
Yeah, it's so interesting to me, man, that it, you know, it really I've tried to rack my brain on this a lot, and I haven't come to a clear answer other than the fact that, you know, there's a absolute astronomic amount of money involved in the advertisements, right, that go into YouTube, that go into Facebook, that go into, you know, the mainstream media.
Yep.
And the more outrage there is, right, unfortunately, the more we want to pay attention to it.
Facts. Facts. Yeah, we as humans, we love car accidents. How many times have there been traffic because people are rubbernecking and looking at an accident, looking at somebody changing their tire,
Oh,
like
drive
for
down
whatever.
95 right now, you know, you'll see
Oh,
you'll see 20 of them.
Miami? Jeez.
Oh, more rubbernecking than I've ever seen, dude.
It's wild, and it's like, I'm a big believer in Gary Vee, and he's been saying the same shit forever, time and time again, and he truly, like he says it, like, for whatever reason, negativity travels faster, but more positivity happens if we allow it to. We have to
It's
start
true.
spreading more positive vibes, and I had some of my friends say, yo, dude, you're getting corny with this whole positive attitude shit, and I'm like, yo, call it corny, call it what you want. But I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna smile when I'm going through shit. I'm gonna laugh when I'm going through adversity because the other option of crying is just not worth it.
That's right.
It's just not. I don't want to put all my energy into negative because ultimately, like it's not gonna work out well for you. I don't care what you're doing. You know, I'm not gonna be able to become a basketball player and be better than Michael Jordan, but I promise you, I'll do a lot better job if I'm more positive than versus negative.
That's
Yeah.
100% right. You know, and it's just one of those things where sometimes you have to just take a step back. You're having a bad day and just start counting all the good things that have happened for you that day, you know, and you'd be surprised how many great little moments you've had throughout that day that you didn't even know of because we were so focused on the bullshit, you know, so
Facts.
focused on the other negative distractions that were just blocking away from even seeing the positive, you know, that you did have going for you during that day or through your week or through your month and through that entire year that you had.
That's so true, man. It's spot on.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to get your take on this, you know, being a professional fighter, right? And I've heard this message from a lot of you guys, is like, the more you really understand true violence, right? The less you want to be a part of it, you know?
Facts.
And I've really started to notice this nowadays is like the people that have never been around, you know, real violence in their lives are the ones that are the most angry for the, you know, majority of the time. Obviously there's like traumatic experiences that can shape people's lives and head them down the wrong path. But, you know, when you understand and can control the innate human nature we have to be violent, right? Like that's we're an animal
There's,
no different than a wolf or a fox or,
yeah,
you know, a grizzly bear. So, you know, I kind of want to pick your brain on that. Is like, you know, one, why is it that fighters, I mean, obviously other than the fact that you're constantly in combat, but, you know, what is it about getting involved in martial arts? And it's starting to get really big in America, right? Is like, what is it about getting involved in martial arts that, you know, shows you that you need to respect that side of human beings?
it's being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. It's about training not only your body but more importantly your mind. You know, when the average, you know, person watches a fight, you see 15, 20, 25 minutes of that fight, but you don't know what all went into the preparation for it. So as a fighter, you know, I was a hothead as a kid, man. I was a scrawny little kid. My brother was a ridiculously sick athlete. So I always was like trying to follow in his footsteps, following his footsteps. If you ask anybody I knew was growing up, they would think he'll be the professional fighter. I'll be the guy working in like an office job. But as I gained experience and I gained, you know, fighting skills, I was like, you know what? It's an ego thing. 9 out of 10 fights happen because your ego is bruised and you feel like you have something to prove. When you know you could kick 90% of the people in a room's ass, like you don't have to sit there and try to, get, feel like I have to prove something.
Mhm.
And you look at fights in bars, right? It's over nine out of 10 times it's over a girl or a spilled drink or something so small, so little that could alter your life. Like I have a crazy story. Before I was a fighter, I was in college. I played football in college, and I was trying
Where'd
to
you
break
play
up a
at?
fight. I played at Fordham University.
Okay,
So,
awesome.
What
yeah,
position?
I was a big boy, man. I played defensive end and D tackle in college.
Ooh,
Ooh, there we
Yeah,
go.
and at
my
Fordham too.
yeah, dude.
You crack
My
that book open.
have to, man. It's crazy. I remember my senior year, one of my teammates was at a bar, and you know, when you got 100 friends, hundred, you know, your football team's like your own mobile posse. And he got into it with the dude at the bar, and I was over there trying to defuse the situation, and some dude took a swing at me. I ended up hitting the kid. Kid fell. I'd never been so scared in my life because I thought my life is over. I'm at a predominantly white university. You know, a kid coming from not really having much and getting a scholarship. So I was scared out of my mind. I thought I killed this kid. I literally went home thinking that my life was over, and thank God it was squashed. And one of the kids that was mutual in it knew my character, knew my background, knew everything, and said, "Listen, it was an accident." But that was like an eye-opening moment. Like from that point on, I think that was the last altercation I had outside of a cage, outside of a ring, because of ego. Like my ego in that one split second could have ruined my life. God forbid
Crazy.
that kid hits his head on concrete. God forbid that kid dies. God forbid somebody stabs me. Like there's so many different routes that it could go and so fast. And I feel like the thing about mixed martial arts that people don't realize is that when you learn control, when you learn how to, diffuse a situation with your hands, with your mind, with your body, it gives you a power where you're not uncomfortable now in these crazy situations, these circumstances. You could think with a cool head. Somebody bumps you in the club, oh my bad, this guy, that person starts running their mouth. You're like, no doubt, you're the tough guy, you win. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't it
Had
doesn't
that happen
bother
a
you.
few times.
Like it doesn't like bother you at that point.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that fighters have the worst perception. Most people think that you're uneducated. Most people think that this is all you can do. Most people think that you come from a violent background when it's the furthest thing from the truth. After you leave that cage, after you share the ring with somebody, whether you win, lose, and you guys go through a war or battle, you have so much more respect for that person as a human being because you know everything that went into him just even getting, to the fight. Who knows if he's having issues at home with his family, his kids. Like there's so many different, you know, tangible, intangible things that are going on in life that you can appreciate it because you experienced it.
I truly believe that everything you said is gonna impact a lot of people listening right now, especially a lot of the youth as well, where it's gonna be super crucial to understand out there that every moment that plays out in your life, every day, every time you go throughout your day, there's decisions that you have to make. And like you said, any little decision or any big decision you make can actually drastically change your life completely. So you have to really step back for a moment and analyze, is this the right decision for me to make, or is this not? Not let your ego, not let your emotional, your emotions get the best out of you and make that decision for you that can cost you the rest of your life. And I think it's so important because you see that going on today, you see that going on now during the world, and it's just spilling out even more. I think a lot of people are just making a lot of decisions emotionally instead of with their actual morals.
And it
So
happens often, man. Especially like, yeah, I love working with kids. I love working with some of the baddest kids on the planet because I just feel like they're just misunderstood, And I truly, truly believe that in any right circumstance, a kid can shift and change his life because we all have a gift. We all have a gift, and it's our job as adults to help flourish these gifts in these kids because you know a kid could become a robber, a drug dealer, this or that, just because he was never loved. He was never cared for. And I truly believe that we have to do a better job of raising our kids. It sounds so cheesy and so corny as about the kids are our future and shit, but they are like these kids growing up now. They're what's gonna be the politicians. They're gonna be the lawyers. They're gonna be the doctors. They're gonna be the educators. Like we have to do a better job and not just be selfish and live in the now. Because a lot of times I think that's what we do. Like if it doesn't benefit us, we don't give a shit. We don't care, and we can't see past our own benefit. A lot of us, a lot of adults. So if we can kind of get a grasp on that, I think we'll be just better off in general.
so what would you say are some of the steps parents right now can take to have a better relationship with their children, and educate them properly, and really create a pathway for them, that's going to drive success, happiness, and joy in their life?
I think we as parents, two things that comes to mind: talk to our kids. How many parents don't even freaking talk to our kids? Like you think about it, their kids are sleeping when they wake up, when they get up to go to work. They go to work. The kids go to school. They come home. They're tired. They cook. They eat. They sleep. That's it. And how many parents do you see outside throwing a ball with their kids, interacting with their child? It's just not happening. Talk to your kids. Like my kids get annoyed. They're tired of me talking to them. Like they're tired of me sharing their social media
I
platform.
love all the videos with you and your kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like it's like knucklehead stuff, but it's like I want to embarrass my kids. My parents embarrass me
Oh
out of
man, so
like,
much.
like,
So much.
like just interact with your kids. Like doing something so stupid is going to open up the line of communication with your kid, and you can actually find out through a conversation what they're passionate about. Like I was an educational kid. I went to a good school because I knew that sports wasn't the end all be all. I knew at some point the crowd will stop cheering, and I made decisions based off of my life. But in that same aspect, school might not be something for your kid. Maybe a trade school, maybe an entrepreneur, maybe something. But if you don't talk to your kid, all you're doing is hammering them away at this and that because you want it for yourself. That's not gonna make your kid happy. Like money is great and all. Like it's easy to say shit when you have money, but all the money in the world is not going to make you happy. And
So
until you
true.
can find something that makes you happy, if you get money, it's just going to make you more unhappy because then you're going to have all different types of demons to deal with when success comes your way. But as a parent, like listen to your kid and talk to your kid. Sounds so simple, but like literally spend time trying to see what the heck your kid likes, what your kid enjoys. A lot of times a kid will get in trouble at school, the school will call, and I got a bunch of clients that are teachers now, and 9 out of 10 times, the parents defended the kid instead of just listening and don't even realize who their child really is. And another thing that I think we can learn from kids is to have an imagination, like dream big. You talk to kids and ask them what they want to be. Like when they're really, really young, they want to be dinosaurs, astronauts, doctors, this, that. And too many times as adults, no, 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 you can't do that. You got to do this. You got to do that. Play it safe. This and that. Screw that. While the kids are young, give them the opportunity to chase their goals, chase their dreams. How many times have you heard, why are you going to, you said it, you're about yourself. Josh said it. Why are you gonna start a podcast? There's somebody that when people don't like what you say, stop putting your fears on your kid. Let your kid like learn to be an adult. Because guess what? We're not gonna be here forever.
So
And
true.
I think that we have to set our kids up with the tools that's gonna lead them to success. And for me, that's huge. My dad allowed me to make, little decisions that got bigger and bigger as I got older. And ultimately, they didn't agree with everything I did and said, but they allowed me to learn and to grow. And if we could do that and keep an open mind, oh man, our kids can do some amazing things.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up actually. Giving, I don't have any kids, but was always appreciative of the autonomy that my mother gave me, right? She was a single parent, as you were saying, like, you know, she made time even though she was working and trying to take care of me and my younger sister, right? To ask us questions, right? Maybe at the time I didn't always think that they were the best questions to be asking me, I got annoyed quite easily from some of her interrogations, but at the end of the day, I can look back on that and understand that she was asking questions so that she could, one, trust me, to be able to make decisions for myself slowly over time as I got older, right? But also so that she could, as you were saying, kind of see the type of person I was going to become, whether or not she could give me that autonomy, right? To be able to make the decisions that I was inevitably able to make, right? As a young adult, that led me to where I was. But, without her kind of guiding me in that direction. And again, right, no one's perfect. Like, everyone makes mistakes, my mother included and myself. But, looking back on it, really just right now, it made me really appreciative of the fact that she trusted me because of the character that I had. So, for you, how do you, as a parent with a couple kids, right? Like how do you, and I'm sure that they're all different in their own way, right? So how do you kind of build and instill those morals and those values that you really believe in and that you want to see them pass on to their kids hopefully in the future, while also giving them that autonomy to be able to make decisions for themselves according to obviously how they grow older.
It's tough, man. I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the toughest things I've done in my life. I think this is tougher than actually fighting itself. It's tougher than writing a book. It's tougher than running a business because, like you said, each kid has its own personality. Each kid has its own dreams, its own goals. I have four boys. God obviously said I couldn't handle a girl, so he didn't give me one. Um, but, having four boys, four completely different mindsets is super, super tough. But I try my best to be understanding. And I'm tough as hell on my boys because my job is not to be their friend, it's to be their parent. So I let them know. I let them know that I'm preparing you to be the best man that you could possibly be in a world that it's not going to give you nothing. And
So
I'm
true.
like brutally, brutally honest with my kids. I tell them, stuff that most parents probably won't. I talk to them like they're my equal, but I make them know that there's a thin line that I am your parent. You're gonna respect me. I'm gonna respect you, and don't cross that line. But in the same aspect, if you do something wrong, you have to always be honest with me. I stress honesty because I can't protect you. I can't go to bat for you. And if you make me look stupid and I'm in front of somebody else, that's gonna drive me even more crazy. Let me know what I'm getting myself involved in, and I tell them about every single problem I went through in life, everything I faced. So it's like there's nothing anybody on this planet could tell my kids about me that I haven't already told them. And my wife at the point told me, "Why are you telling them so much?" I'm like, "Why not? Like, what day
Mm.
is this day and age with social media, this, that?
Yeah,
Like,
they're gonna find out.
Yeah.
they're gonna find
And
out. They're
more.
gonna find yeah, that and then some. And like you know what? Just like I want to be honest with my kids. I want to lead by like example. So when I tell them some of the things I went through in college, when I tell them some of the things I went through, growing up and as a kid, and they're like, "Holy shit!" Like, okay, you're not an alien. Kids think their parents are aliens.
Yeah.
They think that we've never snuck out, we never done anything bad. Like
Mm.
it's almost like if you see a teacher outside of the bar or you see a teacher outside of the grocery store, like, what do you mean you're not living in the classroom? That's not your
Yep.
forever
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
So I let my kids know that I'm human, that I've been through stuff that they're gonna possibly face, and I try to interact with them. And most importantly, I want them to feel comfortable that if they go through some shit, they could come tell me because
Right.
9 out of 10 times we could solve it, we could fix it, we can make it better if we catch it earlier. But if it goes on and on and on, then that's it, man. It just keeps growing into a bigger monster.
I
Mhm.
absolutely love everything you said because it's funny because I actually have one of my really good friends. His relationship with his dad was exactly like that, and I would always tell him, I was like, man, I was like, you and your dad, it was just like openness, and it's amazing because when you as a parent can be open like that and also share your vulnerabilities, where I feel there's a lot of parents, where it's like, okay, I gotta hide these vulnerable because my son or my daughter can't
It's
see
that
me
image of
at my
perfection, right?
lowest. Yeah, they can only see me at my end. It's just that's not the truth. We're human too, and like you said, we all make mistakes, and they should know about the mistakes we made so that way they can learn from them themselves and say, you know what, that's a great point my dad made or my mom made. I definitely should take their advice and go about it this way. But if we're constantly trying to, as parents, put ourselves up on this pedestal and, hey, we don't make mistakes and we never done this and you can't do this, then they're going to be curious. They're going to want to go and see, okay, what is this really all about? Why is this so bad? Or why are they nagging on me so much? So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that because I know a lot of individuals out there are going to be able to utilize this with their own kids. So your 4 kids, who's going to be the entrepreneur? Who's the athlete? Who's the fighter? Who's
Dude,
what?
it's wild. I could honestly, truly, truly see. I could almost pick out which kid's gonna be which. It's wild. I have my oldest son is great in school. He's a sick athlete. He knows what college he wants to go to. Like I found this kid he had freaking 4 index cards, and he literally wrote out shit that blew my mind about his college speech, his Heisman speech, his teammates gonna get drafted by. Some of
Wow.
the stuff that he was doing was just blow. I was mind blown.
Carving
And
out
like,
his life already.
dude, he's got his life
Beautiful.
down. Like it freaked me out. Like he started thanking some of his coaches, and this was probably like 7, 8 years ago. And I literally see it like unfolding. He's in the ninth grade now. The kid's gonna be playing varsity football, and
Wow.
like it's crazy. Like
Congrats.
to see him like just do what he says. My second oldest, uh, he's interesting character. Like super smart. He pushes the envelope, and I don't see him working for a corporation. I can see him doing something, running his own business. My second youngest, he's the toughest one, man. He's a lawyer in the making. But this kid's been selling like slime and racing people for money. He, yo, crazy. Like literally, I remember
He has
He's a
the
hustler.
Gary V mentality.
he is a straight up hustler, and so I could see him doing something sports wise, but if not, like I could see him doing something academic wise. My youngest is the toughest one. He's 4 years old. He's ridiculously strong. He was supposed to be my daughter, but he didn't turn out a girl. And it's crazy. He's just he he. I don't know what the hell he's gonna do. He's gonna do something though, man. But it's wild. He has time to grow, but it's crazy. Like when you sit there and actually let me have to verbalize it and talk about it, it kind of freaks me out. Like it gets my heart racing because we always have these hopes and dreams for our kids, right? And the biggest thing I think I could probably say, like my biggest gift is not putting my expectations on my kids. Like I never once picked up a football and told my son he had to play football. I never once said you have to be a fighter. I never said you have to do this. I just want you to be happy. And it drives
Amazing.
me crazy. It bothers me because I coached my kids up until the age where I was like, I don't want to be that dad that is coaching his kids anymore because they were really good. I don't want anybody to think it was any favoritism. So I took a back seat and I went in the stands and I was a parent. And for me, it bothers me because I just picked up coaching. This is my first year I'm gonna be coaching again for the junior varsity. And when I see parents put their dreams on their kid and put all this pressure on them, and the kid doesn't even want to freaking play baseball, doesn't want to play football, and the parents trying to live vicariously through them, it breaks my friggin' heart because they're putting all this expectations, things that they couldn't do on this kid, and it's not fair. Meanwhile, this kid could want to be like one of the best musicians in the world, and he's not exhibiting his gifts because he's afraid of what mommy and daddy thinks. So
Mhm.
for every parent listening, if you can do anything for your kid besides love the shit out of them, stop putting your dreams, your hopes on them. Allow them to friggin' develop it themselves because they're gonna be miserable. Like my mom cried. My mom friggin' cried when I told her I was leaving corporate America. I'm leaving a 401k. I hate it. I hate my job. I want to compete and I'm gonna go fight. I went and fought for friggin' peanuts. And she's like, I'm out of my mind. She literally cried. And now she's the happiest woman ever because I was able to do something that I love, and I'm able to do things that I want to do. Like I screwed up the schedule, and I was able to change the schedule so I could make sure I'm here for you guys.
Woo! Appreciate you.
So it's like, it's things like that that I value the most. Is like, live your life, because whatever somebody else wants for you doesn't matter, because it might be great for them, but it's not great for you. If you're miserable, there's no amounts of money that's gonna get you happiness. Like we think, like when you're broke, because listen, I've raised my hand. I've been broke as a friggin' joke. I've been at restaurants with my kids, and I told them, "Dad, you guys eat whatever you want," because I didn't have enough money to buy a meal for myself, and I will make us some shit about, "Oh, I'm losing weight, or I'm dieting, I'm this and that," and I've done that shit, so I know how it is to be broke. But I promise you, until I found myself, no amount of dollars and money in the world would ever make me happy. And that's why to this day, I don't give a shit about material things like other people do. I can't even speak English. Like material things
Fired
other
up,
people.
man.
Because that's not gonna make me happy. Like
Mm,
it's great. Can it make life a little bit easier? Yeah. But what can make life 10,000 times easier, 10,000 times better, is having the right mindset. And you started this whole show off with the word gratitude. We're always sitting here worrying about what everybody else got. This person got that. That person got that. Whatever you have, there's somebody wishing and praying that they
yeah.
had what you're not happy about.
Mhm.
And if you could live like that with that mindset and that gratitude, then you're going to be blessed beyond blessed. And stop worrying about what everybody else expects. Expectations suck. I hate them. Stop worrying about what everybody else expects from you. Stop holding all these crazy expectations. Find something you're passionate about and chase the shit out of that.
Just
Drop the bombs.
yeah, and I mean, I think that over specialization, right, really gets exposed in a couple of different areas in American culture, right? One, athletics, right? You see like a tremendous amount of youth injuries that we didn't see when we were kids, right? Like people weren't having Tommy John surgery in high school when we were kids, just didn't exist, right?
Exactly.
And you mentioned with college, right? Like I come from a very underprivileged area in upstate New York, and most of the kids honestly that I went to high school with probably should not have gone to college, right? They should have. And luckily we had like a trade program where they could go to school in the morning or the afternoon and then go do their trade program in the other time. And without that, I think a lot of even more kids probably would have failed, right? And going back to the expectations that we as adults have, right, for ourselves, for our children, right, and kind of that persona that again gets exposed even more on social media, right, of like what we want other people to see of us, right? Like, oh, my kid's good at baseball, so I want to be the parent of a professional baseball player, or I want to be the parent of a doctor or a lawyer. It's like, well, what the fuck does your kid want? You know what I mean? Like and I help raise my younger sister. One of the things that I always told her was like, listen, you don't need to just play basketball. She's a great athlete, right? You don't need to just play basketball. You don't need to just play soccer. Like all year long, you're going to play 7 or 8 different sports. Like if anything, when as a parent, like force your kids to do a lot of different things. If you're going to force them to do anything, force them to do a lot of different things. See what they're interested in, and then allow them to kind of foster that and be that person that they need as a support system for them, right?
Heck yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. It sucks, man. You see kids specialize because if you don't get to do things, you never know what you're good at. Like my parents was broke, man. My mom was like, I would never. Only sport I probably never played was little league baseball because it was just too damn expensive. My mom was like, "What do you want to do? Want to play little league or you want lights on this week? You get to choose." So
Yeah.
I never. I'm the only male knowing that I know that played softball when everybody was playing little league because that was the cheapest one to play. And it was like it is what it is. I got my close thing to baseball, and it's okay. It's okay to play tens of thousands of different sports because you might find out. Heck, I love running track. I hate football. Yeah, and you know what? Every sport's not for everybody, and we people parents have to understand that. Some kids maybe don't want to play sports; they just want to work out, and that's fine. It's whatever outlet you can get for you that's gonna help you be a productive person in life. Because at some point, I don't care who you are, Michael Jordan, friggin' LeBron James, whoever you are, the crowd's going to stop cheering, the sport's going to disappear, and nobody's going to remember you. You're only as good as your last game. You're only as good as your last shot. You're only as good as the last friggin' the sport you played. Like my kids, you know, one of them who's the football junkie knows who Barry Sanders is, knows who Bo Jackson is, but the average kid doesn't have a clue
That's right.
who these guys are. You talk about Isaiah Thomas and Dennis Rodman, and these kids are looking like they're like who, what?
Some
They
of them
don't
don't
get
even
it.
know who Jordan is. You know, you're like, what? They're like watching this doc,
Exactly.
like who is this? You're like, what do you mean? What?
Exactly.
What?
Yeah, it blows your mind. And if you can like as a kid, you always think that you're invincible, right? And you know, like the perception of time is just so off. You know, you're talking to a 10-year-old kid about 5 years down the road. He's like, dude, that's half my life. They can't think
Yeah.
5 years. Like,
Yeah.
and we got to kind of as parents say, holy smoke, let me break down this conversation. It's like shorter bits and pieces of time because they can't understand it. They don't have foresight. So it's like we have to realize, you know, the language we're speaking to these kids, but more importantly, just remember that they're kids, and you know, we can't throw everything we want on them. You know, if it so happens that we're in line and we like the same things, great. If not, like forget about it.
No, 100%, dude. And I just want to take a moment right now and just tell you, dude, it clearly shows through everything you've gone through to where you're at now with your kids. It really shows, you know, the incredible being you are, who shows up and is truly themselves with every aspect of your life, business, your, you know, with your own self as a person, with your kids. And I think it's one of those things that it's something that all people out there need to discover one day in themselves, to really be able to see what happiness or what living is all about. And that's one thing I want to give you thanks for sharing with that, because it shows as well, just you speaking about your kids, that they're learning so many amazing qualities from you, and they're already setting their life up. As you can see, you know, it's remarkable, just the flashcards with your son writing all that stuff down. When do you even hear that from a kid going into ninth grade? You know, they did not learn that just from anywhere, you know. So clearly it shows that, you know, they're picking up a lot of stuff off their pops. And I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because I know a lot of listeners are going to definitely be able to utilize this and use it as a life lesson.
I mean, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you giving me the platform, you know, to reach your listeners. And I'm a big believer in, one's greater than zero. Sounds corny as hell, but you know, if we can just reach one listener, if we can reach one listener and help impact and change their life, then you know they can
That's
do
right.
it. You know, I'm a friggin' Jamaican immigrant that could barely say my T's and my S's when I first came to this country. Little did I ever expect, you know, to write a best-selling book. Little did I ever expect to have a friggin' New York Emmy for my life story. Never in a million years did I expect to win the UFC TUF championship. But you know, that kid that got picked on, that kid that got bullied, that parent that got picked on, that parent that got bullied, that might be dealing with some demons in their closet. You know, you're never too young, you know, to teach, and you're never too old to learn. So, you know, we could all get something from this. And I tell people all the time, it sounds corny as shit, but like my legacy is not ever going to be about, you know, how many fights I win, how many homes I have, how many cars I drive. It's going to be about how many lives I can impact and change. And everything I do is geared towards that, because I am the furthest thing, you know, from perfect. I made my mistakes. I still make mistakes to this day, and I'm not going to stop making mistakes until the day that I die. But as long as I have good intentions, good wills, and I keep on giving back, I feel like I'm going to leave this earth a little bit better than when I came into it, and that's going to be the win for me.
One word, boom.
Yeah, dropping bombs over
Because
here.
that was impactful right there, man. That was truly, truly impactful.
Listen, I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, of course. I want to dive in a little bit on your book. You know, what gave you the inspiration to, you know, jump into that endeavor? I mean, we hear so much about how people, you know, oh, I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna do this. Like it's not fucking easy. So, you know, how was it for you, that whole experience, and then like, you know, finding out that you're pretty damn good at it too?
It was crazy. It was weird. Like I'm a big believer. Like everything happens for a reason. And when you fight, you get sponsors that you know they put their logo on your shorts, your banner, all that fun stuff, and they pay you to do it. So you always want to give your sponsor like the most value possible. So they can tell their friends, because usually wealthy people hang out together, and and you
100%.
can keep getting more and more sponsors. So one of my sponsors had like a mortgage company. I went there, spoke to all of his employees, his sales force, told them my story, how I was like a fat, overweight, depressed, out of shape dude, and I just went on vacation. I decided to do this fighting thing, it took off for me, and like they were all pumped up with my backstory. And like when I was leaving, they're like, "Yo, we need something to like hold on to." I'm like, "What the hell I'm gonna give you?" And they're like, "You don't got a book, a card, or something?" I was like, "No, I don't got a book, but like, they got like this little 14-minute video on YouTube about my life, half my life, that won this New York Emmy." And they're like, "You did what?" They saw the video. They're like, "That's so crazy." I'm like, "That's not even half of it." And then I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "If I get a New York Emmy for this, and it's not even a third of my life, let me put some stuff down in a book and kind of tell how I led to my process and the 6 different principles that I used." And I did it, and it just friggin' it took off. It exploded. Like I think the first week, I think we within like the first couple of days, we hit bestseller for like on Amazon, and it just
Congrats.
took off from there. And it's like I'm a big believer everything happens for a reason. Like now I get publishing companies contacting me. They want to do a follow up. They want to do this and that. And it's like something I'm going to do. I just got to make sure it's the right situation, for me.
Definitely.
Um, but it's crazy. And you kind of, like I said, you never really know what you're going to be good at unless you do it. And you never know what your gifts are until you kind of just take it and run with it. And who knows, man, one day maybe we'll have a friggin' documentary, like actually a movie or TV show or something, because I got a lot of crazy shit in my life.
Definitely
What
can't wait to listen to that.
what are those 6 principles? I'm curious.
Oh
Yes.
man, I got a bunch of them, man. I'll tell you one that I I preach and live the most is that your background, your past doesn't have to dictate your future, because a lot of times I truly believe that a lot of us are holding ourselves back from success. People are afraid of success and the truth. And I know I'm guilty of it because I was so worried about the little mistakes I made in my life that turned into big mistakes. And I was always holding on to that like a handicap of why I can't be successful. Until I finally said, screw that. I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to sit there and call myself a bad person. There's a lot of crazy shit that happens in this world. And if I can better myself from it, make sure some kid doesn't make the same mistakes I do, I can get success. Once I was able to let go of that fear, let go of that my past. Don't forget your past, but just let go of the things that are holding you back. I was able to friggin' just like explode and do great things, not just for myself, not just for my family, but for other people. The biggest takeaway I got from writing my book, from the principles that I was transparent. I talked about my faults. I talked about a lot of dark shit I dealt with, in a good way. And somebody reached out to me on social media because I thought my legacy was winning the championship, being in Las Vegas, having millions of people watch me fight, win the TUF championship, and that was it. That was my highlight moment of my life. I thought, but when somebody reached out to me on Instagram and said to me, "Dude, I thought about taking my life. I was an immigrant. I got picked on. I got bullied, and my life wasn't worth it no more." But when I read your book, like I saw that if you could do this shit, why can't I? And I decided to keep just stay alive and not kill myself.
Holy shit.
That shit,
Wow.
that shit resonated. It gives me goosebumps, it gives
I
me
got
chills
goosebumps.
about it.
Yeah.
Like that, from that point on, I said, fighting is irrelevant. Like I was like, fighting is irrelevant. Like this is why I do what I do. And I screenshot that shit. And when I get, because we all get down days, right?
Oh
Some
yeah.
days I freaking wake up, I feel like shit. I feel like I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make a video for YouTube on a Monday morning. And I look at that screenshot and I'm like, all right, I'm doing it for this kid. I'm doing it for the next kid. I'm doing it for the person that might never text me, might never DM me, might never contact me. But I'm doing it for that one person that's going to see it and think that today's not the day. Today's the day that I'm going to actually appreciate myself. Today's the day that I have an opportunity to do something better. And that's why I do all this shit that I do on the days I don't want to do it. That goes back to the whole consistency thing. That's what helps me be consistent, is knowing that there's somebody out there, whether I know that person or not, there's somebody out there that's waiting to hear what I have to say. That's going to hopefully impact their life and change their life.
Well, brother, I have to truly say you're doing an amazing job, man. This myself, I know we feel impacted, and we know a lot of people are going to be
I'm
impacted.
gonna go run through a fucking wall.
All I know, man, is that you're definitely changing lives. It's clearly you've changed somebody's life drastically through your book, and
It's
I know that
remarkable.
many other people have read it or just seen who you are, have heard of you, seen your stories, your Emmy award winning, documentary. it's truly remarkable to hear that, you know, an individual like yourself who has gone through all this has been able to achieve so much and has continued to instill so much positivity in his children's lives and in others' lives. And that's a beautiful thing that I am pleased and honored to even be able to come on here and be
Same
able to
here.
share this podcast here with you. So really appreciate that, man. Really, really, really do. Um, my next question would be is what's the next biggest project for Eddie?
Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I would have probably said if you asked me 2 weeks ago, what's the biggest project, would probably have been, maybe booking my next fight. Um, 2 days ago, I would probably said it would probably like signing a publishing deal to do my next book. But truly, like after like just talking to you guys and just kind of like just reliving my life, because I'm a big believer that we don't have time to sit there and look at what we're doing, currently, once we're retired, once we're done, we can look back at the things we've done. But I want to really, really stretch, stretch the Eddie Gordon, Eddie Truck Gordon Foundation. I want to, with COVID and all the craziness going on in this world, I want to give underprivileged kids an opportunity to find their gifts, to find their best self. And I know the best way that I did that was through physical and mental fitness. So, when I opened up my gym, I knew that I wanted to be able to offer it to not just people with money and wealth, because that's always the case. Wealthy people can get private training. Wealthy people can get their kids, in front of mentors. I want to be able to offer that to kids that don't have a penny, kids that don't have a dollar. So that's probably the next biggest project I'm going to do. I'm going to finish writing this damn grant proposal that I have that I keep on procrastinating on, and I'm going to get it in front of the right people so that every kid in the planet that needs it can have, the opportunity to have a mentor, have somebody that's going to help shape them physically, mentally, and more importantly, spiritually. So that's the biggest project I think that I'm going to be working on next. Is just getting that fully funded, getting that up and running, especially in times like this where, kids are literally living in solitary confinement all around the world. Like we're doing stuff to kids that we're taking away some of the things that make kids exist, sports and interaction. And I want to give that back to kids in a big way. So that's the biggest project I'm going to be working on in the upcoming future. Besides the next book.
That's
Beautiful,
absolutely
man.
remarkable. And I know I can speak for Anthony when I say, if it weren't for people like you setting up organizations and foundations that allow and give kids access to those things that are absolutely vital for their success and their development, man, I know we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for organizations and funding and people like you who are, the backbone of those organizations. So if there's, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if there's anything we can do for your foundation at all, whether it be to help promote your events or donate or push anything for you, or even, show up and help out, if there's one in the area or one we can travel to, just, let us know and we'll be more than happy to and willing to help support and do whatever we can.
You guys are the best, man. I appreciate it, man. Thanks again so much for allowing me the opportunity to share your platform with you guys. I'm a big believer in just, surrounding yourself with good people. Josh, Anthony, sweat it out. You guys are absolutely awesome. I didn't have to sweat even doing that.
Not yet. We'll get you down here. We'll get a workout in.
But you guys have been awesome, man. I appreciate
Thank you. Where can people find you on social media? What's the best ways to reach out to you?
I made it super easy, man. Truck Gordon, on Instagram, Truck Gordon. You can DM me. I try my best to answer every single DM. My wife thinks I'm crazy. My kids think I'm nuts. I just started TikToking, man. I freaking love it. I truly, truly love it. TikTok is crazy. Gary Vee forced me to get on that thing, and I truly enjoy it. You get to have fun. I think it's Truck Gordon on TikTok. I'm not really on Twitter as much as I used to be, but it's Truck MMA underscore UFC. Yeah. But when in doubt, just put it on Google. Just Google Truck Gordon. It'll pop up on my social media handles.
Awesome.
My foundation is the Eddie Truck Gordon Foundation. You can get right on there. If you go to, EddieTruckGordon.com. Should know that by heart, right? EddieTruckGordon.com. It has every link to my social media handles. More importantly, my foundation. It talks about a couple of things I've done in the past. Thing about my foundation, which my accountant gets aggravated with, is we've done zero fundraisers. Like everything I do is funded through my own blood, sweat, and tears.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Somebody, fights I fight, monies I bring in on my personal side, I literally give that directly to the kids, the underprivileged kids, whether kids are struggling, health-wise, financial-wise, sports-wise. I do everything throughout my pocket. My accountant said I need to do a fundraiser, so I'm gonna think of something really, really good.
Well, you let us know. We'll be one of the first
Oh yeah,
donations, man. No,
you
Dude,
definitely.
done deal, man. You guys rock.
So I got one question for you. What's
Yes.
the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to our listeners today?
Oof. That's now you're gonna have me sweating. Biggest piece of advice I could give. Oh shit. You know what? I'll tell you right now. Biggest piece of advice I could give for everybody. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. It sounds so cheesy, so corny. I remember like yesterday, my high school teacher. Not that they were a bad person. When we went around the classroom, they asked me what I want to be when I grow up. I told them I want to be a professional athlete. At that time, I was a professional football player. But for whatever reason, I said professional athlete. And my teacher said, Eddie, you're way too smart for that. You got to change your goal. You got to change your dream. And she made me embarrassed in front of the class. And I was in like all honor roll classes, AP classes. She's like, you're way too smart for that. Nobody makes it. And I was like, holy shit. I went home that night and that thick loose leaf binder, I kept on writing my name over and over and over and over. And I said, one day my signature going to be worth something. And I remember like I literally had tears in my eyes when I was signing my first Tops card. I had my own friggin' card after I won the championship, and I practiced that signature, and it's actually completely different now than on my 16-year-old driver's license, because that's when I friggin' signed my driver's license. And anybody always asks me, why have I never changed my picture? Why have I never changed my driver's license? You guys are the first one that ever told this story. I didn't change it because my signature is the same as when that teacher pretty much shot down my dreams, and now my signature
wow,
is completely different.
Wow.
And I look at it as a reminder. And if everybody's listening, I don't care how old you are. You can be 40, you can be 50, you can be 60, you can be 70. You're never too old to start that business, and you're never too young to chase your dreams. So believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, why the hell should somebody else?
Guys, you heard it from the ultimate believer himself. Be a believer. Chase after your dreams. It doesn't matter what age you are. Yo, we truly are
Eddie,
blessed to have
thank
had
you.
you on here.
Thank you so
Listen,
much, man.
I
We
appreciate
appreciate
you
it.
guys, man. You guys rock.
Thank you.
Much love, my brother.
Until next time, guys.